Alright, welcome back to the garage. It's good to be back in the garage. Today we're working on the Lexus IS250 2IS. We're going to be doing a coilover setup, and we got two different types of coilovers we're going to be showing you. We got everybody's favorite Maxpeedingrods, aka also known as the eBay Special. But honestly, Maxpeedingrods has a few different levels of coilovers available to purchase. I have two different levels here. Actually, their highest level, both of these are their adjustable dampening levels, which are their two of their highest levels to show you. So we'll unbox them, go through them. I'll show you basically some of the pros and cons of them, address some of the things that people say that are good, not good, and tell you whether or not that is actually true. For those of you who've been watching my channel for years, you know I basically do suspension. Suspension is one of my fortes. So I can basically go through here and tell you whether or not this is actually a good suspension to fit to your vehicle. So let's actually unbox these, compare them side by side, and address basically some of the concerns that you hear most people complain about. So the first box here is their top of the line coilover setup. Let's get this open here. I've installed coilover setups from TN, D2. I've done a lot of different coilover setups from Maxpeedingrods. So I can speak on the differences from all these. Packaging, as you can see here, it's different from what you've seen in the past. You have nice foam packaging. I know a lot of people have shown unboxings before, and you've seen broken pieces of foam in here, and it's just loosely packaged. This is a nice, basically injection molded foam, so it basically fits to the springs that are coilovers that are in here. You have your adjusters that are nicely packaged, nice stickers. So you can see that basically they're coming up with a more higher line product compared to what they initially entered the market with. Each of the coilovers are individually packaged. Again, if you've seen unboxings before on their products before they were actually loose in the box, not individually packaged, a lot of people would complain about, which I thought was petty. Minor nicks and chips. You know, if you put these items on your car, even just with the assembly alone, you're going to possibly nick or chip the products. Let alone road grime, if you live on East Coast, salt, stuff like that. I'm in California, we don't have that type of stuff. But I think a lot of people are kind of harsh on some of the complaints. But you can see all these are individually wrapped. They're not even able to slide around in here because of the injected foam molding, or the injected foam that they actually use to package them. So let's take one of these out and look at it individually. If you look at one of the coilovers just by themselves, color combos, amazing. Coils themselves are powder coated. Top hats look like it's either zinc coating But again, the color choices, it makes it look like a Highline product. The bottom piece is actually powder coated. I'm gonna grab a magnet here real quick, because you have some people saying, oh, these are cheap products, they're aluminum, this and that. So this way we can test it. So you have the bottom cup is steel. So I've seen people say, either in comments on reviews or unboxings and stuff like that, say that all these bottom cups or threads and sleeves are aluminum. I wouldn't trust my vehicle or my life on that. Again, you have basically a steel cup with steel cut threads. It's basically going to be as solid or reliable, if not more, than a stock factory piece. A lot of times factory pieces are mass produced, and mass production is not necessarily always your greatest. Car manufacturers are always looking at bottom dollar, and they're going to cut costs as much as possible. Especially in economy cars, your Hondas, Toyotas, stuff like that. They're not going to put top dollar in suspension. Your Mercedes, BMWs, of course, and Audis, Mercedes and BMWs specifically, yes. In the old days, I'm not sure as much today, but in the old days, they were always targeted towards spirited driving. So of course, they always tuned them towards spirited driving and put a lot of time and effort in suspension. Nowadays, unless you're getting like an AMG or a true M series, because they have all the different variations of M Sport and this and that, which aren't true M series. Unless you're getting something like that, I don't think they're really putting the time and effort into suspension like they did back in the older days. Just unthreading this here so you can actually see it and see what the threads look like. As I unthread it, I mean, it slides up and down on the threads beautifully. It seems to be machined great. I'll bring it up to the camera so you can actually see. And yeah, machining looks very nice. Solid steel piece. They took the time to drill a hole at the bottom to allow any moisture or water that gets in here to drain out, so you don't get this piece rusted out if any moisture does get in there, because you are going to get moisture wicking around this edge. So that's a nice thought, afterthought. Welds on here look decent. I would say just as good as anything you see from factory. It's not going to be as good as something you see in super high dollar where they're sitting there TIG welding it and they're just stacking dimes, but just as good as anything I've seen from a manufactured vehicle. So yeah, rubber bushings look nice on it. Insert looks nice. So again, even, you know, the little detail with their logo and everything like that. Night and day from what you've seen from the earlier pieces, and so far nothing I can really complain about. Your dust cap goes pretty much all the way to the top, maybe like ½ inch of visible space, but once you got compression on that, it would completely seal. I'll bring this closer to the camera so you can see everything. But again, like I was saying, your dust cap goes pretty much all the way to the top. Just basically all the details. Like I said, these are pretty much, they look to be like zinc coated. Everything looks really nice. The detail on the adjuster for the adjustable valving on the shock itself. Their name at the top. So like I said, overall it appears to be a very detailed quality piece. Like I said, I've installed stuff from T and I've installed stuff from D2. This visually is, I would say, is on the same level. Heft, weight, also too on the same level as them. As I'm holding it, it doesn't seem loose or any rattling. You could tell, like, when it's a cheap piece, you have play and fitment. I don't feel any of that. Again, you won't know until you get out in the car. There's also been complaints over the years of their actual shocks having premature failure. Again, I wouldn't know until I get it on the car. So I'll set this aside. I'll actually put the box down. Just sit this right here, and we will get the other set of coilovers out. Let the bike pass by. We'll get the other set of coilovers out so you can see the comparison for their next level down. Alright, so we'll open up these. These also, as I mentioned, have adjustable dampening. So again, they're not the bottom of the line, but they are the next level down from that. So you can immediately see a little bit difference in packaging. You don't have the full foamed, basically full foamed packaging. The shocks are a little, or the coilovers are a little bit more loose in there. They are still individually wrapped. So they do have a little bit more space to dance around. So we'll pull one out. Tools. Again, you don't have the nicer sticker, so it does show you that it's a little bit more of a step down. The tools, I think, let's compare them side by side. So yeah, the spanner wrenches are smaller. So the spanner wrenches are smaller, and you don't have the nicer sticker. So it's basically that's what you're getting when you step down. So smaller spanner wrench, and not as fancy of a sticker that goes with it. You know, just minor things. I think the larger spanner wrench would help you with more leverage, and then the sticker gives that nice fancy touch, all posh. You're getting what you pay for. Just take out one of the coilovers, compare it side by side. These are supposed to be adjustable. They do have an adjuster at the top, but it's more of a, it doesn't have the larger knob, so it's a little bit harder to manage. You figure if this starts to get any oil at the top of it or what have you, you would definitely need the Allen key that comes with it. That one you can easily grab with your hand. Your hand's never going to slip on it. Now this one, remember how I told you as far as any play? This one, I definitely have play. A little bit of play. And that's why I was telling you when you could tell like a solid quality piece versus one that's not. So without this being cinched up, I have a little bit of play between the cup and the, you can hear it, between the cup and the actual shock. So that's in the machining. When you cinch this up, you'll probably get rid of that, because what you're going to do is you're going to bind the cup on the threads, and it's going to shove the cup down or up. But that's just speaking to cheaper machining, whereas I didn't have no play on that one. So just with stepping down a little bit, you see the quality step down just a hair. It's still a steel cup. To me, bushing wise, seems the same. Welds look about the same, I would say. On the higher quality one, the welds do look better. Dust cap is pretty much the same. Top hat seems to be the same, just a different color. And the spring rate, I'm going to see if the spring rate is different. Yeah, they gave a softer spring on this one and a heavier spring on this. I want to make sure I'm comparing front and back, not a front to back. But yeah, they gave a softer spring on the cheaper version versus the more expensive version. But yeah, so that pretty much can echo some of the complaints you'll get with the Maxpeedingrods coilovers. So, you know, people can say you get what you pay for, but even with them, if you go with their top of the line, which you're talking only on some of these, I've seen only differences of maybe $20. You spend an extra $20 or $40 or maybe $100 at the most. You're talking about something that I see is comparable to a BC, a D2, or yeah, BC or D2. So why not just spend the extra 20, 40, or 100, and you're saving 5 to 1,000, depending on what you're shopping for. If you're just looking to lower your car and you don't really care about fit, finish, whatever, or you're just looking for a quick flip and you just want to stance it, then yeah, I'd go your bottom of the barrel. I wouldn't even go for adjustable dampening at that point. I'd go their cheapest. But if you want fit, finish, I'd still go Maxpeedingrods, and but spend the extra 20, 40, and maybe even 100 max, and go with their top of the line. Their top of the line really is impressive. Let's pull the car in and get them on the car, and see what they look like on the car, and actually see fitment too. See if we have any fitment issues. As far as lining up with the bottom arms, lining up with the top of the vehicle or anything like that. So before we pull in the garage, I just want to kind of give you the before stance on it. It's 100% stock, stock wheels and tires. I do want to lower the gap between the tire and the wheel. I'm looking between 2 to 3 inches. I still want to get full turning without actually, if I do need to roll the fenders a little, I'll go in and roll the fenders, but I don't want to be tearing up fenders. So when we adjust the coilovers are stated to lower the vehicle between 1 and 3 inches. I'm going to set them on the bench for more or less about 2 inches, since I want to go 2 to 3 inches, and then we'll set the car on the ground and fine tune it from there. I am also going to swap these wheels out on this episode. These are 18s that are on the car, but I'm gonna keep with 18s, but just an aftermarket wheel and tire package, staggered fitment to give it a more aggressive aftermarket look. So we'll do that also at the same time. So again, we'll give you a before, so you see the overall stance, and you can see this car's stock height. It's definitely high off the ground. We can definitely lower it quite a bit. The main thing is I want to maintain drivability. As far as steering back, you could pretty much tuck the back as much as you want. It's the main thing front on a static steering drivability. Being able to turn fully and not tear into your fenders. If it was bagged, it doesn't matter, because you could air it up just a little bit and then get your full lock to lock. All right, let's pull in the garage and tear it apart. All right, so before I even try to put these on the vehicle, there's a couple things you want to do with them. One is to set preload. Preload is basically the amount of tension you have on the coil without the weight of the vehicle on it. Sometimes when they ship them, they already set preloads. Sometimes when they ship them, there's no preload, and that's the same for all manufacturers. So you want to check them. Wiggle them. If they're loose in there, there's no preload on them. If they're tight on there, there's preload on them. The other thing is you want to take a measurement from the top hat to the bottom of the coil. Make sure it's all uniform. If there is any difference in that measurement, that means that there is a difference in that preload, and you want to make sure that they're uniform. At least at the front is the same. The two fronts are the same, and the two rears are the same. This way you don't have any unevenness from left to right front and from left to right rear. So the way you set preload, like a zero preload, would just be basically making sure that there's no slack between the coil, and then tightening up your spanner nuts, basically the two spanner nuts that hold the coil, not the spanner nut that holds the adjustment cup. If you want to add additional preload, you would compress the coil either 1/4 of an inch, 1/8 of an inch. It doesn't usually take very much. You're not going to try and compress this thing 1 inch or 2 inches. It's very little preload that you want to give to these. And then again, if you notice I have marks on these, I like to reference the pigtail on the top hat. Why I have them on the bench, this way when I toss them in the car, and I am actually adjusting the bottom, or just squeezing them up in there, and maybe sometimes you do have fitment issues and you're wiggling it around, you make sure you're making sure that you didn't twist that pigtail when you're wrestling it in there. Once it's finally in place, you can go up there and see the pigtail still in place. This way it didn't throw off any of your measurements. The other thing is too, once you are going and fine-tuning your height, you usually fine-tune your height by adjusting the top two lock nuts, and that pushes, well, it doesn't push, but the top two lock nuts, since they're jammed together, it twists the shock itself, which keeps your bottom cup stays static, and that actually heightens and lowers it. But if these aren't fully locked, sometimes it can start to twist your coil, especially if there's not enough weight on the vehicle, if you're parked at an angle. Also, a lot of times you do this, you already have the vehicle jacked up, so there's not enough tension on the coil. So this is another way of making sure that your coil is not spinning while you're making those type of adjustments. So I like to put that reference point in there. The other thing I like to do is, before I get these on the car, and I've already done it to these three, is I like to put anti-seize in these. Again, I showed you that Maxpeedingrods did put the hole at the bottom of the cup to allow any water to drain out, but it's good to lube them up with some sort of lube. And for me, anti-seize is it's ideal. It's always worked in the past. So I thread these off all the way, and I put 4 lines of anti-seize on it, and I'll show you right now. While I'm threading it off, you can also see on these, I've also made reference marks as to where I have them adjusted, so that when I go up or down from there, I can take a measurement and then also count my turns. I'm doing 5 turns up, 5 turns down, and then, so I like giving myself reference lines. So my anti-seize, like I said, I just do 4 lines. Doesn't have to be a lot. A little goes a long way. These threads are fine. You can see right there. It's basically 4 lines of anti-seize. Thread the cup back on. And I'll just guarantee in the future that this never seizes on, makes future adjustments easy. And these are now ready to be put on the car. Alright, I got the car pulled in the garage, up on jack stands. I just jacked up the front, so we're just going to do the front first and then do the rear. Instead of putting it on all 4 jack stands. Let's get the front tires off and then pull the plastics off the front and start pulling apart the front suspension. Again, since if you guys have been following me a lot, you know I normally do American cars, so if you don't do a lot of foreign cars, just be careful jacking them up. There's usually jack points on foreign cars. American cars are easy. You always look for either the axle, front cross member, frame. There's plenty of places that jack up an older American classic. Foreign cars, unibodies, this and that. Just be careful, always look for jack points, this and that. All this stuff is plastic. It's not something that you can actually jack up a vehicle from. So it is more cumbersome to jack it up and to put a jack stand under, because a lot of times your point where you're actually jacking it up is the same point that you want to put that jack stand under, so everything gets in the way. So let's pull these off and get started. Alright, so we got both side panels off. We don't need to take off the front one because we just need to access the strut towers. Alright, so how we disassemble it is not necessarily important on a strut suspension, since we're not taking apart the strut. It comes apart together as a unit, so nothing's really dangerous, unlike a A-arm suspension where you have to drop the A-arm and the coils under a load. So we could pretty much just start pulling everything apart. The only thing you do have to watch out for is the brake cable and any ABS cables. Make sure that when you're pulling this arm out or this knuckle out, you're not stretching them as far as possible and you're not actually overextending those two lines. But as far as everything else, it's not like a traditional A-arm setup where you have that coil in there, and when you start to drop it, that coil's in the load. You basically just start unbolting everything that you need to unbolt and drop the strut assembly out as one complete unit. So the only bolts you need to drop is this bolt right here for the ball joint. There's a cotter pin in it. Pull the cotter pin, unbolt that. There's a bolt right here holding this electrical line that goes to, pretty sure it has something to do with ABS. There's another bolt at the bottom of the strut, and then the 3 bolts at the top of the hat. And I think that's pretty much it. So let's get into it. I just hit everything with WD-40 real quick. Bring a little magnet parts tray, start dropping bolts into that. All right, before I pull this knuckle, or the ball joint, before I pull this, I'm just gonna wrap a bungee cord around the knuckle and the strut so that
in the odd possibility that it actually does break loose, it doesn't swing forward and it doesn't pull on this cable. So you could smack this a couple times to kind of break it loose, and then we'll also hit it with a tool, but that actually helps. Oh, there you go. It actually broke loose. Simple. And then you see the bungee cord kind of kept it together, so this thing that didn't swing all the way and then mess up our cable. So you'll see a lot of guys, a lot of videos, they'll sit there and fight this. It's no different than your 80s, 60s, 70s GM upper A-arms. And pretty much that's the same technique we use to break ball joints on most of those cars. You'll pretty much hit the knuckle and it'll end up loosening up basically the ball joints bind in them. They're wedge shape. When they go into them, they sit there, seat, and bind in there. So what you're doing is hitting the knuckle to try and break it loose. But I see a lot of guys post videos and they're sitting there fighting with, like, buying all these tools to try and break it loose, but old school methods sometimes work better than all these tools that you can buy. So let me swing this to the side. I am still going to bungee this up so we don't put any stress on these cables. I'm going to hang it off of our upper A-arm. So you still see I still have plenty of slack on these cables. Should be able to. I'm going to free up the other side, and then we should be able to pull the strut assembly. Again, since this is also a sway bar car, until I free up the other side, I'll get a little bit more slack, and we'll be able to pull the strut. All right, so the driver's side's out. Let's pull out the passenger side. And again, I have the knuckle basically bungeed, so there's no tension on any of these cables. So, driver's side is out. I mean, driver and passenger side are out. Passenger side I kept hearing clunking on, so that's another reason. I was just going to lower it. Normally I'd probably either go with a nice aftermarket lowering coil, but I was actually hearing clunking on this side when I would go in and out of driveways. So when you would transfer weight from left to right, so most likely this strut, the actual shock itself is bad. So if we were to go and swap out and go with a nice quality aftermarket coil, you'd still have to swap out the actual shock itself. So might as well go with the aftermarket coilovers. So let's get the coilovers ready to go in. I'm not sure if I'm gonna use the hardware that came with it for the tops or reuse the factory ones, but we'll see when we get it in. But more or less these should just be bolt-in, no modifications, but we'll see when we get them in. All right, I got to adjust it where I pretty much think it's gonna sit right height. Let's squeeze it in there and then lock everything down as far as bolts, but not the adjustment ring. Sit it on, I'm gonna sit it on ramps and see how we fit tire to fender, and then see if we need to make any adjustments from there. So I'm going to use a floor jack on both sides just to lift the bottom arm up, gently ease the top hat into place, and also help the knuckle seat into the ball joint. I got 2 jacks. Since this is a soy bar car, it's going to help me raise both bottom arms up at the same time. Alright, both those are seated on each side. Let me see which nuts I want to use, whether it's the factory ones or whether the ones that came with the kit. I actually use the ones that came with the kit. They're actually both quality, so. Alright, so everything's buttoned up. Let me torque it down real quick. And then, yeah, let me just torque everything down real quick. And then we'll get the wheels on. Time for you to see some new wheels on the front end. Give me 2 seconds. Alright, I'll give you a close-up of how the coilover looks sitting in here. Everything, as you can see, step by step, bolted in perfectly. No issues on fitment. Everything bolts in pretty clean. The only thing they didn't add was a bracket to attach the ABS sensor cable to. I'll probably zip tie that up somewhere. But yeah, everything fit in perfect. No having to open up any holes, drill out anything. Everything bolted in beautifully, just like factory. So let's get the wheel on. I added new cotter pin. I didn't reuse the factory one. And then I torqued everything down to factory specs. All right, everything's assembled, torqued down. Added new cotter pins on both of the upper ball joints. As you can see, I have the jacks fully. Basically, I have the vehicle sitting on its own weight. So when I tighten down any of these, it's sitting basically on its own weight. Usually it's best to torque down everything when the suspension's at its ride height for bushings and stuff like that. So now it's time to put on the new wheels. I'm running 18 8.5s in the front, 18 9.5s in the rear. They're Aodhans. I'll have the wheel and tire specs down below if you want to run these. Let's toss these on and see how we are as far as guesstimating our ride height. See if we have to adjust the coilovers, and hopefully get this thing on the ground and see how it looks with the new wheels. So definitely didn't guesstimate it right. So I'd say we're pretty much only an inch lower than what it was from stock. So I need to come down about 2 inches. When I adjusted it, I think from the bench, I think I raised it 2 inches, so I should have just left it the way it was. So let's pull the wheels off. Let's set it down, see if it evens it out. All right, I think that pretty much evened it out. Funny thing is, when I had it, let me. Funny thing is, when I had them on the bench and had them originally adjusted, I was like, they might be a little bit too short, so I raised them up 2 inches, and they were fine the way they were. I should have left them alone. So yeah, that looks nice to me. It'll probably even settle maybe another 1/2 inch. I don't think it'll settle much more than that, but that looks perfect to me. Let's pull it out, flip it around, do the back. The back I'm not going to second guess. I'm just going to leave it the way I have it set up on the bench, which is pretty much maxed out. And then if we want to raise it, we can raise it. The back I had maxed out because it didn't have much adjustment. The front I had basically where it just had like I think an inch or so of threads showing. But I pussed out before I put them on the car. I raised it an additional 2 inches, thinking I think it's gonna be too short, because like I said, I was worried about turning radius. I wanted to get full turn, but no, this I think looks really nice. So yeah, let's back it out and then flip it around and go from there. All right, before we flip it around and put it in the garage and lower the back, I wanted to take it outside so you can see the comparison of the front lowered versus the back. A lot of times once you get it fully on the ground and get it lowered, it might not look too low, but you could see night and day. The back being stock height versus the front, it basically looks like it's totally leaning forward. So again, front, we totally got rid of the wheel well gap 100%. There's no wheel well gap. The tires basically up here. Again, there's no wheel well gap. The tires basically up here. So we 100% got rid of our wheel well gap, but it's not too low where you can't drive the vehicle. Front air dam, I'd say it's about a couple inches off the ground. It's missing the front bottom lip already, so I need to replace that. But it's definitely drivable. Has full steering, but we did get rid of all the front wheel well gap. Zoom in here so you can see. And then again, just a night and day comparison, front to rear. So let's put it in the garage and lower the rear and get it leveled out. Yeah, you can totally see the rear's way higher now. So I just wanted to do this as a comparison, because once you get the rear done, you might look at it and be like, doesn't look that much lower. But when you see stock compared to lowered directly side by side, you could see it totally leaning forward, so you could tell the difference of how much we've lowered it so far. So let's knock out the rear. All right, we got the Lexus backed in. I got the wheel unbolted, so let's take it off and get the rear suspension done. So the rear suspension is pretty similar to the front. You have your strut. Only difference is you have part of the wheel well covering wheel well liner covering 2 bolts. So what I'm going to actually do is just cut around this area to access these 2 bolts. You can take out the full wheel well liner. There's a bunch of bolts and clips all the way around, but there's just 2 bolts right here and here, and if you just cut around just this little pocket right here and leave the full wheel well liner intact, you can access that, and then it doesn't take away from the rest of the wheel well liner. The wheel well liner's pretty much intact and still functional. So I'm just going to cut around that, access those bolts. Everything else is the 3 bolts on the top hat, similar to the front. The 1 bolt down here on the bottom arm, similar to the front. The other difference here is we do have to loosen another bolt to disconnect the bottom of the sway bar. The front, we didn't have to disconnect the sway bar, and we do have to drop another bolt here to drop the actual complete arm to give us more space to drop this strut assembly out. Other than that, like I said, it's pretty much similar to the front assembly. So let's start. Let's WD-40 everything, cut this liner, and start pulling everything out. Snake it around your camera and light assembly. It's much easier when you don't have a setup for filming. That's pretty much it. Strut assembly's out. Let's get the other side done and get the new struts in. Alright, so we're going to try and get the coilover in. I have it basically bottomed out as low as it could go. We're going to go from there. I'm not going to go and adjust where I have it. The front, I had it set like maybe an inch from its lowest setting, and I kind of rethought it, and you've seen what happened with the front. I extended it out maybe like 2.5 inches. When we sat it down, it was too high. So I'm not going to overthink this. I'm going to leave it where I had originally had the front and set. I had the front set like an inch from its lowest setting. I had this all the way down, so I'm going to go with my gut feeling on this, and hopefully my gut's right, instead of rethinking it and ending up having to do it like we did the front. So let's get these tossed in and see how they look. Alright, everything's in here hand tight. I'm going to use a floor jack just to jack this up and get the 3 bolts from the top half into the upper strut tower. Hand tighten all those, and then do the same thing to the other side. Alright, we'll put the 3 top bolts on and get the other side done. Alright, so for a quick close-up, see everything fit beautiful in here. These coilovers, the color combo, the blue with the black, looks amazing. Fitment, again, like I said, everything was beautiful bolt on, nothing needed to be, no holes needed to be opened up. You can see right here where I cut the fender liner. Everything bolted in great. Let's get these wheels on, get it on the ground, and drive it around, see how they actually handle. All right, the rear coilovers are installed. Everything's torqued and bolted up. Time to put the rear tires on. Again, these are 18 9.5s. Aodhans. I'll have the specs and everything for tire and wheel down below. I'll give you a close-up of how everything fit. If you watched and followed along, pretty much everything bolted up, everything lined up perfectly. Pretty much the coilovers fit perfect. There's nothing that needed to be modified. It's a straight, beautiful bolt-in. So let's get these wheels on, take it for a test drive, and see how they actually perform and handle. I'm not looking for anything spectacular, but I would like it to be comfortable, you know, no rattles, nothing rough. So let's put the wheels on and take it for a test drive. All right, I think height-wise looks pretty good. I still got clearance. I mean, we're tucking tire. I got maybe about finger clearance between the fender lip and the tire. If I need to roll it, I can roll it. We roll take it around the block, see if it settles, bring it back. I also want to measure both sides, see if they're equal. So I'm at 24 and like a 16th here. Check the other side. Hey, dead on. 24 and a 16th. So they're dead on. I'll take it around the block, see if it settles, see if that changes the height. But yeah, I mean, that's a nice stance right there. Let me take it around the block, pull it outside, we'll do a, let me get it in frame. Let me take it around the block, see if that changes the height at all. It'll probably settle maybe, and then remeasure it out, and go from there too. I don't want it to lean to the back, so I'm hoping it's pretty much level. If it is leaning towards the back, maybe I'll raise the back up just like a little bit, but let's go from there. All right, pulled it out of the garage. Look at that sexy beast. Now, again, it's not super slam, but to me that's a beautiful daily height. You could daily this thing, drive it. It's not going to scrape all over the place, but it's a nice tuck, definitely in the rear. Beautiful tuck in the rear. To me, it's got a nice stance. Wheel and tire fitment to me looks really nice. It's not crazy aggressive. It's not super deep. It'd have been nice if you could throw some 3-piece at it, but for what it is, if you watch the first episode, this is a Mannheim auction find, so you know it's a cheap build. We're not going to throw for a $2,000 car. It's kind of odd to throw some $5,000 or $8,000 wheels on it, but for what it is, I think it looks amazing. But comment down below. Do you like the stance that these coilovers gave it? I just went around the block a couple times just to kind of get it to settle. This way you guys could see the overall ride height. Just going around the block, to me, ride quality is way better in stock, but I'm talking about ride quality on a stock set of struts that had over 200,000 miles on them. So yeah, ride quality immediately, hands down. Nice, tight. I'm not talking rough. Nice, tight, sporty. But I want to dial in the adjusters and actually throw you guys inside and take you out on a true drive and let you know how it is. But overall, I think this is a nice stance. You can make this a great daily. So again, comment down below. Let me know what you think. And as far as fitment, you guys followed along. There's no fitment issues at all. The only issues I had was in the front, setting the right height. I had it pretty much dead on, and I second guessed it before I put it on. I raised it, so then I had to go in and adjust the coilovers again. But if I hadn't second guessed it, this would have been a just bolt in and not even have to readjust. For a car as old as this is, with a clean set of wheels and height adjustment, really brings this car to life. Alright, so that pretty much wraps it up for this episode. I hope you enjoyed the content. I hope you enjoyed the build so far. We're 2 episodes in on this build, so basically first episode is the Mannheim auction purchase. So again, this is a low budget build. We got this car for a little over $2,000 in Mannheim. The first build we went over some of the issues, basically check engine light and a few things just to get it running good. If you haven't seen that, I'll have a link down below for that episode. And then this build is basically, you know, getting it looking right. We did the wheel tire package on it and the Maxpeedingrod coilovers. Again, Maxpeedingrod always gets kind of a bad rep as far as your eBay budget coilovers, but you've seen direct bolt-on, no issues on fitment. Everything was pretty much plug and play, and look wise, okay, we didn't go with the cheapest set of coilovers they sell, but look wise on this, the blue and black combo, just really beautiful. Most people aren't really going to see them, but if you have a show car and you put them on there, and you ever take off a wheel and you have a full display, it's going to look beautiful. So again, fitment, beautiful. I'd give it a 10 out of 10. No issues on installation. I've done suspension for years. I've run various other companies that are expensive, and sometimes you do have to hollow out holes for installation, this and that. And this was just direct bolt-on, no modifications needed. Perfect. Like I said, I did take it around the block just to settle it. And just taking it around the block, it already rides better in stock. But again, the stock shocks and springs that were on its struts had over 200,000 miles on it. So of course, those shocks, coils don't really go bad on an import car because there's not a lot of weight on them, but shocks themselves do go bad. So I can understand they're not going to ride as good as they did from factory. But it's already tighter than it is, and I'm not talking rough tighter. It's nice tighter. It feels funner to drive. I do want to play around with the adjusters and get it dialed in right, and then I'll do a quick short, post it up on my channel, driving around and show you, basically give you my commentary of how it drives all dialed in. Again, if you haven't done so already, please like and subscribe down below, and stay tuned for our next episode. See ya.